Now, where's my pizza? I'm starving in here.
It'll make you puke. South Park, Why They Created the V-Chip. Premieres Wednesday, August 13th at 10 p.m. only at Comedy Central.
In the 90s and early 2000s, when shows like The Simpsons or South Park were at their peak, it created this gold rush of TV stations trying to make their own cartoons for mature audiences. The Critic, Mission Hill, Oblongs, Clerks, Downtown, Clone High. This truly was the golden era of great adult cartoons that mostly all got cancelled once season in. Thanks for nothing. While it'd be nice to make the next big animated series, many executives realized, wait, animation costs a lot of time and money, while going live action would be much cheaper. By the end of the 90s, MTV was taking that route, leaving their cartoons out to die. And the one I'm talking about tonight is 2001's Undergrads on MTV.
So come and talk to me on my computer screen. The best years of our lives aren't as easy as they seem. To get the grow and make the grade, it's all a show, it's all a game, and I would lose it if I played. But anyway...
A 13-episode series about college students that was created thanks to a contest was quickly canceled, got a cult following, and managed to make a comeback almost 2 decades after its premiere. Undergrads was requested by everyone here. Yes, comments from several years ago, but also Matt M, who won the Patreon review vote. Now settle in, because this show has a bigger history than you'd think it would. Cue the intro, it's Juice and Jam time.
Gentlemen, please raise your glasses. We four shall never meet again, at least until Christmas. To us, to the click.
To the click.
Now we shall watch my Malaysian bootleg DVD of The Empire Strikes Back.
Well, our story takes us to the late 90s with Pete Williams, a young college student and artist. He loved to read Animation Magazine and compete in art contests featured within, but he never won a single time. After constant rejection, he lost interest in these games he knows he'll fail at. But there was another contest, one hosted by MTV asking for pitches. They were looking for the next Beavis and Butthead and requested people to animate their characters talking to the screen in a mock interview. Pete chose not to compete, until his mom politely encouraged him.
Do it.
So what the heck? This is where he made the click.
I guess the one thing that bonds us is the fact that we've all got problems. As individuals, we don't stand a chance in this world, but together we form the click.
If you're wondering, yeah, that's gimpy. We'll talk about whatever that is later, okay? As the contest rules stated, the click was an interview about one average guy based on Pete, who's talking about his ugly, weird, or flat-out stupid friends, which were based on real-life people he hung out with. I'm sure they appreciate the inspiration.
Now, if you're going to base your characters on actual people, make sure you do a better job of disguising them than I did. Because it can really land you in hot water when the real-life people you base them on aren't too happy.
They're still cool. At least he didn't draw his characters based on real-life friends and make lewds of those characters like I did. We're still cool, it's fine. Anyway, Pete was the lucky and skilled winner of this contest that so many other artists entered in. Or did they?
Now, I later learned that even though it was a nationwide contest, only about 15 people had actually entered. And out of all the entrants, apparently I'm the only one that followed the rules.
Just ignore that detail. So with the contest won, that's when MTV said, let's spend a couple of years focus testing before we decide if we actually want to make this a series. Okay. In the meantime, Pete worked on coloring and post-production for other shows. He described it as being a few steps above internship. Now, MTV didn't want to spend too much money on pilots after this.
Created by the phone, on the phone, oh yeah, I'm deep in it.
That failed pilot cost a lot of money to animate, and they ain't risking that again. So, 3 years after the contest victory, Pete created another short with almost no writing experience and no animation budget. Should it become a show was decided on by a focus group of teenagers. Well, I've always said animation doesn't matter if the dialogue or posing is good enough to convey the idea. That can salvage a cartoon. It's not at all hopeless. The focus groups hated it and it killed all hope the show had to be greenlit. It was so awful that Pete refused to air the pilot in full and just showed the abridged version.
Cal unknowingly pisses off a belligerent drunk at the bar. Rocco searches the washroom for a weapon he can use to defend himself. Gimpy plays a game of cat and mouse with a cockroach. And Rocco saves Cal from the drunk guy, only to wind up punching Cal himself. And finally, Cal goes home with a waitress, much to everyone's chagrin. And for some reason, Gimpy has a shaved head.
So Pete went back to where anyone goes when they have no idea what to do with their lives. College. But Pete didn't give up. The next few months, he bought a computer and learned Adobe After Effects. With that, he made a few other shorts he could pitch to MTV. One that he describes as Twin Peaks meets Happy Tree Friends, and also includes a furry version of a character who would show up in Undergrads later on. Yes, another chance at a series, and it was not picked up. But the channel was impressed with his effects work, so they hired him to do just that. A few months after, he befriended a producer and was able to pitch a new version of The Click, this time on the Sci-Fi Channel and with more pulp culture references. Yeah, the Star Wars prequel trilogy was a big deal at the time, so they strongly encouraged the geek aspect. Move over, Bing Bong Theory.
Star Trek sucks.
Gimpy, you don't even give it a chance, guy.
Han Solo can kick Captain Kirk's ass.
Gimpy, just do me a favor and watch part 2. Wrath of Khan is actually a good movie. Spock dies at the end.
Good, I hope he rots in hell.
Sci-Fi was loving it until Chris realized the contract he signed after winning the MTV contest means MTV owns these characters indefinitely and not Sci-Fi. When a company owns the rights to something, they'd rather hoard it to themselves and not use it rather than giving it away so that some other company could make money off it. Scummy, I know. Chris was young and inexperienced. He thought MTV hiring a lawyer for him to read the contract was a good idea. It wasn't. Hire your own lawyer and maybe negotiate for an expiration date on the contract or something. And also like 1% royalties. That goes a long way, especially if you're designing logos. Thanks to that contract, The Click was not happening on Sci-Fi. But it did rekindle the interest MTV had. So again, Chris had to make... oh, god damn it. Another pilot, and again with the same limited slideshow budget. But this time, Chris was more experienced. He couldn't get much animation help, but he knew how to use Adobe. So he polished up his short with some limited mouth movements and transitions, anything to impress the focus test that were to decide his fate. And so began, yet again, The Click.
If you're a college freshman, it's Friday night, and you've got at least $10 in your bank account, the world is your oyster. Enjoy the fine arts, social engagement, and of course, the ever-popular getting drunk like it was your job. However, if you're a broke college freshman, sensitive to noise, allergic to morons, and sober out of sheer stubbornness, 2 points. The world is your rancid scallop.
Maybe it was the dirty faded colors, but the pilot really had that feel of a lonely Friday night. Setting itself apart from the previous pilots is the emphasis of them being 4 lifelong friends who go to 4 separate colleges in the same city. Characters that are so attached to each other, they refuse to hang out with anyone else. It was just 4 guys hanging out and talking about nerd stuff. I dare say, had they been retail employees, this would have been more accurate to the spirit of Clerks than the actual Clerks cartoon, and I love the Clerks cartoon.
It's still Friday night for another 30 minutes.
So put some damn clothes on.
Nice room, guy. I brought you a fern.
Thanks.
Lisa be thinking Jar Jar was the best.
God, I hate you.
See, that's why I'm making a special edition of episode 1, replacing Jar Jar with Lara Croft.
And this was it. I mean it this time. The Click was getting turned into a series. On top of that, Pete was paired up with some experienced writers and producers to help refine his ideas. Andy Reingold and Josh Kagan. With this trio assembled, they set out to create The Click.
It's time to play Click!
Oh, it looks like there was already a game show hosted by Ryan Seacrest that already had that name first. And with this trio assembled and a new name agreed upon, they set out to create Undergrads in 2001, featuring a theme song that was going to be by Blink-182, but they were too big at the time, so they got Good Charlotte, which due to YouTube's copyright, I can't play, whatever.
I'll stay in, but that's alright, 'cause now you found a click to call my own.
The Undergrad stars a group of friends, each of a different trope, like Nitz, the slacker, Gimpy, the shut-in nerd, Rocco, the dumb jock, and Cal, the ladies' man.
Hey, guy.
Which, I don't know what everyone else's experience was during high school or college, but I find this mixture more realistic than just everyone being the nerd or the jock or whatever. Not every jock is going to be the bully. They each can be good friends despite being so different, whether they be a Star Wars fan or a lug-headed frat boy who also enjoys Star Wars casually.
I've lost you to the dark side of the frat forever.
Gim, I'm still your friend. And I'm in a frat. I can do both.
Oh? You're on my side and the dark side? Like Lando Calrissian?
Yes, Gimpy. Like, whatever the hell you just said.
This was my first time watching Undergrads all the way through, and it made me realize there aren't that many cartoons based solely around college students other than, Extremely Goofy Movie, Monsters U, 3 South. A bunch of fans told me about that. I never watched it. College is such an underrepresented setting for a cartoon. It's crazy. Has anyone noticed this? Undergrads covers a lot of topics in its 13-episode run, whether it be getting a new roommate, school traditions, or even... It's about time we take FAFSA down a peg. Undergrads can have some iffy voice acting early on and feel lowbrow like a raunchy teen movie from the era.
Wieners, 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 put them in your mouth.
Like, some stuff here ain't gonna fly today, but stick with it. With its down-to-earth art style, it makes the weird, cartoonish jokes catch you off guard more.
Yeah.
The giant imaginary bottle of whiskey's with me.
And with the banter, everyone's just so blunt, like this clip of an episode where they're learning about STDs.
Great news. I've created a program that allows me to hack into any PC and install a Gillian Anderson screensaver. Watch. Sexy Miss Scully. I wonder if she ever had gonorrhea.
Real great, Gimpy.
Yeah, great if you're a freaking nerd.
That is like the perfect clip to show off everyone's personality, but the one guy you'll focus on through the series is the everyman Nitz.
Hi.
The guy just really wants to score with his high school crush attending the same college. Maybe he would have better luck if he didn't dress like the closet dad of every cartoon ever made. What even is this outfit? There are times where his lust for some girl makes him neglect his lifelong friends. That's a good way to have the audience hate him. Just look at how people react to Mordecai from Regular Show. Although with Undergrads, Nitz realizes, wait, actions have consequences and his friends don't appreciate what he's done. While you'd think this was just a crude comedy, it understands its character dynamics and can really hit you with a major bummer. Damn. We'll be back with more Undergrads after these messages.
Don't you realize? This is Star Wars versus Star Trek. It's a band of rebel X-Wing fighters versus, I don't know, some Star Trek crap where they save a bunch of crap lousy whales.
Do you guys know you missed my birthday? It was yesterday.
Yeah, there's a lot of Star Wars in this show, like Kevin Smith and the YouTube algorithm would tell you to cut back. But remember, the prequel trilogy was coming out, so these references were actually encouraged for promotion. Also, MTV basically gave the show no creative notes. Since they were going to cancel the series anyway, they could write whatever they want as long as it was not too inappropriate. It's quite the Silver Linings Playboy, if I do say so myself, and I did say that. Myself.
My mommy shot my daddy because she loves me.
As unrestrained as this series feels, there were still some weird restrictions.
From those notes, I basically learned that Rocco's bare butt is okay, but focusing on cleavage is bad.
It's surprising what products they were allowed to use. Star Wars, Mac computers, even an episode where they got to settle a score by playing Quake 3 Arena. MTV just had that power at the time, which includes tons and tons of angsty licensed music to play in the background. But the one song I can't believe they were able to afford the extensive legal rights to was this one.
Your mom bought you a cake. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
They could afford the happy birthday song? What the heck? Only Tommy Wiseau has that money. Good thing this DVD has all the music intact, but some territories like Canada have their TV airings replaced by generic background tracks. They were gonna have actual music and sound effects from Star Wars, but that never went through in any territory.
Nitz, I want to send you this really cool video game emulator I programmed and configured myself. It plays all arcade games, Atari and Intellivision, PlayStation, Dreamcast, and Game Boy. But no Pokemon. It's only about 600,000 megabytes. But I'll zip it. Ready?
Dear God, no.
Good, here goes.
Now, I'm sure some of you may worry that this show relies too much on references. Kinda, but it's still funny on its own and has some good character moments, though I understand your complaint. These days I can find plenty of sitcoms on rerun that'll name drop all sorts of comics and movies, but in the early 2000s, having characters casually mentioning geek culture was a real novel idea. That was far more niche at a time when Marvel and Star Wars stuff wasn't clogging up the store shelves today. It just added to that cozy feeling of watching this show, vicariously imagining, wow, what if I had buddies in college on a Friday night? That'd be the dream. Though that's kind of outdated since we get that feeling by listening to podcasts now.
Look, you can see the boom shadow. And in this scene, that guy has his watch on. But look, now he doesn't. You see? Continuity error. Continuity error. Number one! Number one! I watched the movie good!
There was and still is no college-focused cartoons quite like this series. Now, while I was skimming for footage of the characters actually in class, I realized there's not a single scene at any time where they actually do go to class. Which, I guess the idea was, the learning doesn't matter, it's the socializing that's the most important part of the college experience. We don't need no education, we got YouTube tutorials. Like I really need to sell my soul to financial aid or the military just to teach myself Adobe Illustrator. Forget that.
I wanted to experience college. I wanted to do squat.
Wait. The Dougler wants to go too. The Dougler?
This was just another way the show gets it. Too bad MTV didn't feel the same way as they premiered Undergrad at the same time as The Simpsons Season 13 premiere, followed by moving it around the schedule to the point that no one could follow it. MTV just didn't care about animation. Like hell, Clone High released a year later and met the same fate. But that was in America. In Canada, the channel Teletoon actually advertised Undergrads and repeatedly played it on their late night block. It was finally getting the audience it deserved. Yet Undergrads was still cancelled. For years after Pete, the fans, and even the co-production company Decode Entertainment fought to bring Undergrads back. It was a constant battle of petitions, fan outcries, MySpace groups, video pleads, cosplays. Both the fans and the creators never gave up. Though, if Pete learned anything from the first time he got a series, all it takes is one idea to take off after constant rejection to make a difference. 17 years after the premiere in 2018, Pete Williams was able to secure the rights to an Undergrads film from MTV and create a successful Kickstarter for Undergrads, the movie.
And we never would have gotten this far without you, the fans. Now's your chance to help us finally bring Nitz, Gimpy, Rocco, and Cal back for their sophomore year. You can help us tell the next chapter in their story.
Help us, Undergrads fans. You're our only hope. Star Wars. Yeah, God, I got more learning to do. And more ladies to do.
As this video is being made, the movie's in pre-production and you can follow the updates in the links below. The Undergrads movie will bring back the two head writers, so I'm expecting this to be a satisfying film, put up on a streaming service and animated in Toon Boom. It's still a long ways away, but I'm sure with its team reassembled, it'll carry the same feel Undergrads has had since that one pilot that gave it the green light all those years ago. There's a reason why so many people relate to this series.
You having an okay time, Nick?
You know what? Yeah, I am. So if you're a college freshman and a social retard,
can't say that.
But you've got 3 fellow freaks to look out for you, life still isn't your oyster, but it is a clam roll at Hojo's. And that's not so bad.
Don't give up. Challenge again.
MTV stirring something up.
Liquid television.
A new half-hour series of the coolest animation on TV.
I know you're gonna dig this.
Take cutting-edge cartoons, pop in a few surprises, add some spice, and shake. Sunday nights at 7:30, only on MTV.
What?
Liquid television. TV that melts in your face.
MTV. Musisz to widzieć.
Now I'm ready to try out for the NBA.